Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Foster Hughes, the City Manager for the City of New Bern, and I'd like to thank you all for attending tonight. This is a follow-up meeting from late May when we had our first MSD meeting. At that meeting, we talked about the history of the MSD. We talked about the taxes that were collected, some of the projects that were that funded some of these great projects in downtown New Bern. We talked about some potential projects and what a potential committee makeup could look like. And so after the meeting, we received considerable input from a variety of folks. And so this meeting is going to really be a follow-up, and it's also going to be an interactive meeting. So we hope that the majority of you brought your smartphone with you, because we're going to be doing some texting. Some of you may not feel comfortable speaking, and so this is going to be a good way to collect the information we have. Now, this is not scientific polling, so it's people that are watching this on Roku or Facebook or on City 3 TV will have an opportunity to vote as well along with us. And we're going to go ahead and prep you a little bit. So if you'll pull your smartphone out, and if you will text to number 22333, and in the subject line, Colleen Roberts 877. I'll give you a minute to do that, and I hope all of you will try that. You're texting to the number 22333, and in the subject line, it will be Colleen Roberts 877. And you should receive a message back in just a minute to let you know that you've been accepted. So as a reminder, in 1985, the initial advisory committee was established by the governing board. In 2014, that was the last time we adjusted the footprint of the MSD, and that footprint goes from the other side of Hancock all the way to the Douche River, and from on the other side of Broad Street down to Trent River. So it encompasses all of those areas. All right, has everyone received a message back saying that you've been included? We're going to give it another minute or so, because we want to get as much participation as we can with this. We're going to have several questions for you. So while some of you are still signing up for this, we just approved our budget this past Tuesday evening, and in regards to the MSD, the budget, the anticipated revenues for the MSD this year, $421,200. That includes the MSD tax, the property lease with the farmers market, and any parking leases that we currently have. So some of the expenses that come out of that, we're transferring $242,000 of that into the MSD fund balance. We've got debt service on several loans in the amount of $107,000, parking control in the amount of $42,000, and miscellaneous other services at $29,500, and that really goes to cover cleaning and maintenance of the clubhouse and things like that. So our former tax rate was $13.75 cents. It is now $11.22. Okay, so that has gone down. For every cent, that generates $18,350. All right, is everyone ready? So we're going to see how this goes. So the first question, are you joining tonight's meeting in person or online? So if you are here in person, all you have to do is enter A. If you are online or watching on City 3 TV, enter B. Let's see what happens. No, you don't have to set up an ID. All you will have to do is, Colin, you may have to walk around for a second and show some things.
You may have to give your phone permission to join said group. Yeah.
Have you activated it, Colleen?
Try to respond to the question. Are you joining tonight's meeting in person or online? Type A.
Okay. I promise this worked earlier today.
We played with it many, many times. One second, I'm almost there. All right, I do have some answers. Why don't you try again? Right now, I have one A and one B. So they are coming in. You can see my glare.
Okay.
In
In person is A, yes.
So, we're getting a message that you haven't opened the poll yet?
Which is interesting, because right now, whoever said A is 100%. Maybe that's only one person getting through, but I got it. Are you? I'm reactivating every single poll we're going to do tonight. All right. Sorry, you want to try again?
All right, let's try again. If you were in person, enter A. If you're online, enter B. You won't be getting anything back. You'll just enter A or B. Folks, I apologize. Bear with us for just a second.
Hey, Foster, if they put in Colleen Space Roberts, 877 won't work as well.
Yeah, so you have to enter with no space, Colleen Roberts, 877, just like what you see on the screen. And you'll text that to 22333. Yes.
Yeah, I've got. What's that? From last time? No, this is what Foster gave me today. Okay. Oh, maybe he revised it after we met. Okay.
Go for it. Okay, while we're waiting on her, I want to remind you that anything on the MSD, we have it available on our website at newbernnc.gov. We have uploaded the last meeting we had. We had a workshop with the governing board back in February where we discussed the MSD, so you can find that information. We've also got information on the state statutes that govern MSDs, as well as the city ordinances addressing MSDs. Variety of information. If you've had any requests for MSD information, you can find it on that site. And one easy way to look at that up is when you go to newbernnc.gov, you can click on the Residents tab, scroll down, and you'll see Municipal Service District. Okay, it looks like we're getting ready to have something up on, at least, you've got it up on this screen right here, Colleen. Is your polling open? All right, so we're going to try that polling again. If you would, on the first thing, are you joining tonight's meeting in person or online? A for in person, B for online. And Colleen will keep us abreast of what we have. Okay, so we have it popped up.
I allowed everyone an unlimited number of responses to this question, so you should be able to participate.
Nothing's come up, so you can work on that for just a second. All right, so while she's working on that, we're just going to yell this out here. When you think of downtown New Bern, what one word comes to mind when you think of just downtown New Bern in general? Technologically challenged, yes, that's definitely true. Walkability. What else? Magical. Welcoming. Economic driver. Family friendly. Historic. I'm sorry. Community oriented. County seat. Quaint. Historic. Scenic. Beautiful. Mumfest. Friendly as well. So there are a variety of things that when we think of downtown New Bern, it draws people to. And obviously we all know this is a tourist attraction. It's a great place to come. And obviously it's a great place to live. Most of you live down here, work, and play. So again, we talked about where you can find the resources to the MSD itself. You can also sign up for email updates on newbernnc.gov under MSD. This meeting and the previous meetings you can watch on video on demand on the city website, Roku, and on YouTube. If you would like to email the city regarding MSD, you can send an email to msd@newbernnc.gov. So we're just going to shout this out again while Colleen is working on these things. One word, what do you like the most about downtown? Food? Okay, the mixture of business and residents? Hardware store, all right. Artists? Home? All right, anything else? Convenience? Quality of life? All right, what else? Comfortable. All right, so let's switch that up. What are the things you're concerned about? Try to be one word, concerned about or dislike about the downtown New Bern. One word. Alcohol. Noise. Parking. Politics. Drugs. Smoking. Pardon? Okay, what else? Anything else? All right, so we've seen a variety of things on that. So again, a reminder, what is an MSD? And the MSD is a Municipal Service District, and it's a tax district. And we talked about what the area of the MSD is, and the governing board designates this area, and they levy that additional tax to be used for specific projects. And the governing board does determine what projects will be funded and what will not be funded. How are MSDs managed statewide? So by state statute, there are currently 3 ways that they can be managed. One, by advisory boards. Some have no advisory boards, and then you can contract with a nonprofit. Most do a downtown development group or a Main Street program. So that gives you an example of that. So some examples of some MSDs across the state that people will ask for. The number one thing that people asked for was the city of Wilmington. So that group has a downtown advisory board, and they have 14 members. And the composition of that is 3 residents, and they must own a dwelling within the district that is their primary resident. Then they have 2 large property owners, and they also have you can either have a property owner or a property owner's representative. And the large property owners qualify if their values are $2 million or more. 1 hospitality representative, 1 real estate developer, 1 restaurant representative, and a retail representative. 1 Wilmington Downtown Incorporated board member, a member of the Downtown Business Alliance, a professional service representative, a nightlight representative, 1 at-large representative, and the city manager as an ex officio non-voting member. We then looked at Morrisville. They have no board, so the governing board basically determines how those funds will be spent. Yes?
Can I ask a question about Wilmington for clarification?
Yes.
So Wilmington has a full-time representative, correct? A full-time staff member that runs that MSD?
That's correct.
And what, can you tell me what their take is as far as the amount of tax they take in? I want to make sure we're talking, I don't think we're talking apples.
We're not apples to apples on that. I can't tell you what exactly they take in.
Millions.
It's much larger, yes, but a lot of people like basically how that MSD was composed of, what the members were. So then we've got the city of Sanford. Downtown Sanford basically runs that MSD. They have 13 board members, and they have 1 city and county liaison, non-voting, and they just formed an emeritus group for members who have come off that board, and they're still invited to participate in those meetings. The city of Goldsboro has a department, downtown development, that operates that. There's no advisory committee, but the downtown development group does regularly participate, provide information. Then we've got the city of Statesville. Their downtown development group operates that. They have 19 board members, and the composition, just like you see, downtown merchants, property owners, business owners, educational institutions, financial institutions, etc. And they do have several ex officio members, such as the mayor, the assistant manager, assistant police chief, and executives from the chamber and Convention and Visitors Bureau, and so on. Then we have the city of Salisbury, and they're operated by Downtown Salisbury. They have 9 to 15 members, and we're seeing similar makeups. 2 members are downtown merchants, 2 are food, beverage, or arts merchants, 2 are downtown property owners, and then they've got several at-large positions. They do staggered 2-year terms, no more than 3 consecutive terms of service, and they have 7 ex officio with voting rights. So when we talked the last time, we talked about how the MSD was composed of. 70% of the composition here is commercial, 30% is residential, and so we basically brought that up. How would you feel if a committee is formed that we look at 70% commercial, 30% residents, and really didn't hear anything against that? Yes. Sure, you can ask a question. We looked at that as a nonprofit, so. Okay, we'll certainly look at that. Certainly look at that. So as I was saying, we had the 70-30 breakdown. Then we talked about possibly the largest property owners being on the committee with ex officio members. So I don't know if Colleen okay, she's working on it. So in terms of the three potential makeups of an MSD, and let's just look at this by a show of hands. What would you prefer to see? Would you prefer to see an advisory board, an MSD advisory board? If you would, just raise your hand so we can see. So I'm getting ready to go. So, okay, you have three alternatives: advisory board, no advisory board, currently like we're doing right now, or for the city to contract with someone like Swiss Bear or another nonprofit entity. So, an advisory board, who would like to see? If you're here, you can vote on it. Again, this is non-scientific. So if you would like an advisory board to represent the MSD, raise your hand. Okay. If you would not like an advisory board for us to do it the way we've been doing it for the last several years, no hands. And for us to contract out. All right, so obviously everyone would like to see an advisory board. Okay, that's good. Marvin, you have those forms. So we're going to pass out some information on what the proposed committee could look like. So you can take this home with you. Yes. We can wait a few minutes on this. So, yes, hold your comments on this. So Marvin's going to pass around what we've looked at as a proposed committee. Nothing is set in stone, so we will get your input in just a few minutes. So commercial members, as of right now, we're looking at 7, and that should be the property owner or the owner's representative. And so we're looking at least one large property owner. And we're looking at the total value of an MSD property. You qualify if your value is $2 million or more. Currently, there are about 15 to 16 of those property owners in the MSD. A hospitality representative from hotels or bed and breakfast, banking, restaurant, retail, and entertainment / nightlife, and then professional services such as legal, real estate, insurance, and medical. That's what's proposed. And then residential, 3 residential, they must reside within the MSD, and that must be their primary residence. That's what we're looking at. With ex officio non-voting members consisting of the Ward 1 alderman, the city manager, the finance director, and Swiss Bear executive director or board member. And so heard several of you say that didn't like the fact that city would be able to vote or anything like that, and that's not the intention to vote, but the city does have the finance director and the city manager that would attend and provide information as needed, help guide the meeting if needed, but not determine what type of projects that the MSD may or may not be interested in. So with mentioning that, I'd love to hear your comments on what a proposed committee could look like. So by all means, if anyone has any questions or would like to bring something up, yes.
Is it cast in stone that the commercial will be 70%? That's really what, the questions have been raised about that. Looking at this piece of paper, the way I do math, it looks like 70% is commercial, and there were questions raised already tonight.
Sure, and like I said, nothing is set in stone. That's why we're having this meeting to discuss, to get your input. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That they're considered individual owners. But I know when we, as an association, and Sky Stars Association, have paid our flood insurance and our insurance in our building, they were not individual. Our building is 12 units, but we're paying our insurance for flooding stuff. We're the one building that has a value of over $2 million. So, I mean, I just, I understand that. I just wanted to bring that up.
Right, and
I don't know if we're the only two. I think we are that are like that.
right, and a good example. We looked at SkySail, and it's still on the table. I'm curious to hear what everyone has to say. There are several folks that own condos in SkySail, and there are quite a few of those condos. And we looked at the possibility: should we have a representative from a resident from SkySail alone to go as part, not necessarily to be part of the 3, but maybe that would be 4 residential. Don't know. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Okay. Right, right. Gotcha. It's individual on the tax, yes.
Right, I get that, but you're talking about
Gotcha. Gotcha.
When you look at the large property owner, is that going to be based on tax? Is that based on the actual value of property?
That's based on the tax value, looking at Craven GIS and determining that.
Then you mentioned property owners representative. I think this last week we had some mention that if you would be on this board, you need president. You don't want
That's right. And of course, I think if the governing board appoints anyone to this board, and it's in the commercial, case in point, and we'll just talk about a restaurant. Say there's all the restaurant owners are local, but say if there was an outside chain and that entity didn't want to send the president of the company there, they could appoint their restaurant manager. That's a representative. That's what we're referring to, as opposed to the owner. So if we've got a toy store, well, obviously that's a local owner, and if that's the representative, then obviously she would want to attend and participate.
Would all members of this committee be taxpayers?
Yes. There was a discussion, or a representative, or the representative.
It cannot be a business owner who doesn't own his building.
That's correct. Unless the building owner said, I want you to be my representative. That is the option. And of course, we haven't talked about the nonprofit. We did have some folks here last time. I think they represented one of the churches, and they would like to be included, even though they don't pay. And so haven't really discussed whether or not there should be a representative from the nonprofit sector to be on this.
Foster, just to understand the original point that was brought up, 730, the nonprofits that don't pay the MSD, were they included in the values breakdown 730, or were they excluded?
To be honest with you, I've got to go back and look at it. I can't, yeah. Yeah, and they may have, and it's been such a long time since we compiled that, we're going to have to go back and look. So I want to give you accurate information, and I can't give it off the top of my head.
In regards to that, how do you consider if someone has a residence within a commercial building?
If they have a residence and there's a tax ID on it and they're paying taxes, separate,
You know, if they own the whole building structure.
right,
I'm saying if it's considered a commercial building.
right.
With a resident, because there's commercial
Mm-hmm.
buildings with residences in them, that may not necessarily be condo.
Great point, yep.
That you then consider that whole structure that is commercial versus residential.
Right, that's a great point. We'll definitely have to look at that. Yes.
Another thing on your Foster, 3-year appointment. So if I had a building and I was on the committee, and I turn around and sell my building monthly, am I still able to finish out a 3-year appointment?
If you no longer have a vested interest, then basically we'd fill that position. Yes. And, yes. Yeah, so what we did is we looked at all of our appointed commissions, and overall, we've got several of those. Several of them are like that currently. Now, if the representation of the MSD would rather see expired terms, then that's up to the governing board to determine when we set this up, but we're happy to get your input on that.
But the good side of it is, in terms of you have a property here, it makes the property for 20, 30 years. So they're large payers and MSDs.
Yeah, but you also see people who've been in boards for many years. There's not a side, very, very good tradition on that. So it's a good.
Okay?
Are you going to consider non-resident
Non-resident owners, why not? If you're paying taxes within the MSD, you need to be considered. I don't think that's good, whether you live here or not. The whole thing about this MSD is you're basically paying an extra tax. That tax is going to fund those projects, so it shouldn't matter whether you're a resident or not, unless you qualify for the residential aspect of this on the committee. Yes.
Is the purpose of the committee to recommend spending existing key money that is considered an MSD, or is the purpose to identify projects that are worthy of taxation and then identify what taxes should be raised to maybe projects that the committee has identified?
Any and all of those things. That's going to be the purpose of this committee, to vet projects, to look at any other projects that would be worthy in the downtown MSD. Yes. Sure.
You summarize existing MSDs. Did you ask if those duties are to assess the potential products, potential projects, and then figure out what taxation should be raised, or are they to spend money that's taxed on the MSD exemptions?
So currently there's, off the top of my head, there's about $1.8 million in the current MSD kitty, okay? And by statute, those funds have to be spent on projects. We can't just continue to keep that money and add up and add up and add up. The purpose of the MSD is to do projects, okay? So if there are special projects, right now the revenue neutral rate is what we talked about, okay? And you're bringing in approximately $18,000 per cent. So if there are certain projects that the committee would like to recommend to the governing board, then obviously you can get loans for those things. If it's going to be a big project, smaller projects, the committee can make recommendations to the governing board on what they would like to see. The board would, in turn, approve those things. That's.
But ultimately, the decision is made by the governing board. This body will truly be making recommendations.
That's correct. Yes.
Does the city recommend any projects?
There are several projects that are recommended. We're going to get into those. We brought several projects to the table several weeks ago. We also heard recommendations on projects as well. I take it the polling is good. We'll get to some polling in just a second. So we also talked about proposed committee, quarterly meetings with a 3-year appointment, unlimited rotations to serve, and then appointment by the governing board. I heard some of your comments on that, so we can definitely look at a variety of things. So the next polling question that comes up, and hopefully this will work up. So Colleen, we'll try this. Are you ready? I'm not holding my breath, but it says, would you support the breakdown as we have presented it? If not, what advisory committee structure would you recommend? This is more of a free-form discussion, so you can type a sentence if you want to, and hopefully.
These are answers that came in just to get it working again. So, these are all my answers.
So if you had a comment like what someone was saying, that they want to see a nonprofit entity, or you wanted to see the makeup change from 70-30 to 60-40 or whatnot, that's what you would need to enter. Are you ready, Kevin?
First question. You served in a community where they had an MSD besides this?
Yes.
And what was your experience there?
I didn't have any experience with them. Yeah, I didn't have any experience with them. Didn't serve with them, but they served a purpose. They served a purpose, and they funded projects in the downtown area. That was Ashboro. Okay, so advisory board. So we should start seeing some things pop up. Okay. Churches should not have a vote, but welcome to meeting. Add one more member to residents to account for sky sale. So if anyone else has anything they'd like to enter in, that should pop up. Advisory board. Okay.
That's not taking it, but you can get that same message.
Go check her out. I support the formation of an advisory board, but favor a more resident participation. Colleen's coming around if you have any issues.
Explain that comment about myself, because as I see it, there are 121 units there. So there's, not everyone lives there. Let's say everyone did live there. So 121 residents. Wouldn't each one of those be able to be added up to?
If taxes are paid on each one of those parcels, yes. They're considered residents. That's correct.
It's not. Yeah. Different than the one.
No, that's not how it's going to operate. And the more you have, the more votes you have. No, what we're looking at when we bring this to the governing board and they decide, yes, we're ready to enact this, then we're going to have a process for, if you are interested in serving on this board, there will be a process that you'll go through. You'll fill out an application. You may provide a resume. Then the governing board will vet that. And at that time, they'll determine, okay, they're a resident, they own the property, or they qualify commercial based on whatnot. And they will look at that information and vet that appropriately. The governing board will make that decision on, that's correct. Okay, so we've received a few others. Craven County Commissioner for Downtown should have a non-voting seat. Advisory board split based on who pays the taxes, residential versus commercial, simple math. Okay? All right, so one of the questions that was asked at the last meeting were, we'd like to know who the top 15 property owners in the MSD are. So we did provide that. Swiss Bear, using Craven County GIS, they did compile that information. It's posted on our website at newbernnc.gov under the MSD. You'll see the top 15 property owners as compiled by Swiss Bear. The values of the top 15 range from $2 million all the way up to $20 million. So to review some of the proposed projects, under lighting, sidewalks, public parking lots, and LED-enhanced crosswalks were some of the projects. For safety, we looked at security cameras. The example of the locations were the traffic circle down on Broad Street, the inner core parking area, James Reed Lane, Bear Plaza, Middle and Pollock Streets. Dedicated police officers downtown. Trash pickup at least 4 hours a day. Crosswalk upgrades, with a thermoplastic brick pattern for a more cohesive look, larger street signs on traffic signals, and then some of the things we received was a walking trail completion over the railroad tracks on South Front Street, sidewalks on the 200 block of South Pollock Street, dedicated trash pickup in the inner core, and explore underground trash receptacles. Under amenities, we received requests for bike racks, pickleball courts, exercise trail, Union Point Park bench swings, flower planters on select corner posts, downtown sound system, bench dividers, historic downtown banners, replacing those. Under maintenance and repair, we looked at repainting light poles, restriping stop bars, sandblasting and powder coating trash receptacles, repaving the parking lot on Pollock Street, which is right behind us, adding additional floating docks, and adding spigots in front of businesses on Middle, Pollock, and Craven Street. Some additional projects included farmers market upgrades, So the farmer's market does pay rent to the MSD. That property is the property of the city, but MSD receives all those funds. So replacing the garage doors, restroom enhancement, and ceiling fan enhancements. On the railroad property between the farmer's market and the railroad tracks, doing some beautification to enhance that. Some other projects include parking and pier along East Front Street near the traffic circle, and you could see a diagram of that. And you could also, I think you can download that on our website for a closer look of that. The Creighton Lot project, which is the inner core between right there at Morgan's. Digital wayfinding signs. Downtown master plan, and reduce the debt service. Those are some proposed projects. So we're going to go back to some interactive polling now. And I'm going to let Colleen talk a little bit more about this, but there are several proposed projects that we just talked about. And so you're going to get 4 opportunities to vote for some projects, and it's either going to be A, B, C, D, or whatnot. So Colleen is going to talk about those.
One quick question. You didn't mention the Pepsi Museum. Is that not being considered?
That we haven't received any information on that. Okay? So there's not been a specific request from the MSD to do anything, okay, as of now.
So these are the requests that you received.
So we combined the requests presented to you at the last meeting with the ones we received after the May 25th meeting. In all, we have 29 for you to consider. Because they may be hard to see, I've broken them up into 3 slides. So on each slide, you have 4 opportunities to vote. So you'll see 10 items of proposed projects. You vote for 4 of them that you'd like to see. So on the first slide, which project would you prioritize from the following group? Again, you can vote 4 times. Is it?
We're going to say it several times. She's going to say it several times.
So A, security cameras. B, dedicated police officers. C, larger street signs on certain traffic signals, the larger signs that name the street. D is crosswalk upgrades, those thermoplastic brick patterned crosswalks that Foster explained a lot about last time. I see a vote coming in. E is trash pickup, dedicated trash pickup for 4 hours daily. F is underground trash receptacles. That was an idea shared with us after the last meeting. G, walking trail completion over the railroad tracks on South Front Street. H is sidewalks in the 200 block of Pollock Street. I is bike racks. J, pickleball courts. If anybody needs me to go back through them. Okay, A, security cameras. B, dedicated police officers. C, larger street signs on traffic signals. D, crosswalk upgrades. E, dedicated trash pickup for 4 hours daily. F, underground trash receptacles. G, walking trail completion over the railroad tracks. H, sidewalks on Pollock Street. I is bike racks. And J is pickleball courts.
I have a question. So these projects are all going to be within the MSD, correct?
All of the projects we discuss are within the MSD. That's correct. And just so you know, this is just an example. We're just trying to get an idea of what would be supported. At the end of the day, when the governing board appoints an advisory committee, that board is going to really vet and determine what projects they would like to present to the governing board to approve.
And just the reason I ask is pickleball courts are great. I just look at inside the MSD for the world they possibly could.
That's right. It would be literally impossible. But like I said, that was requested at the meeting. That's why we have it on here. Okay. So someone brought that up. That's why it's on here. We're not discounting anything that we've received, okay? Yes. Okay.
Are we seeing all four of ours in one
No, separately. You'll enter it, then press send, enter it again, and press send. Okay, so one last time. So security cameras, A, dedicated police officers, B, larger street signs on traffic lights, C, crosswalk upgrades, D, trash pickup, E, underground trash receptacles, F, walking trail completion, G, sidewalks on South Pollock, on the 200 block of Pollock, H, bike racks, I, and pickleball courts, J. So give it just another second, but it looks like the biggest support we've received on that is 21% crosswalk upgrades, followed by 19% underground trash receptacles and dedicated police officers, followed by security cameras. Those are what we're seeing of the top four or five things there.
Doesn't the MSD currently pay for trash services? I mean, that has been included for years, and in there as an expense, is that still?
So there is a payment for trash. It is not all inclusive for that, though. So
We do have funds that we appropriate yearly for trash pickup.
trash pickup in the trash cans on the street, yes. Yes. And when we talked about the underground trash receptacles, that's really, I think it's really mainly aimed at the inner core area to deal with the dumpster issue. All right, when Colleen comes back over here, we'll go to the next slide. Yes, ma'am. So we've got about 10 more projects on this next slide.
All right, again, 4 more votes for this one. Which projects would you prioritize from the following group? A, exercise trail. B, docks. C, Union Point Park bench swings. D, flower planters on select corner poles. E, a downtown sound system. F, bench dividers. G, historic downtown banners. H, repaint the light poles. I, restripe the stop bars. Or J, sandblast and powder coat trash receptacles. I'll go through those again. A, exercise trail. B, docks. C, Union Point Park bench swings. D, flower planters on select corner poles. E, downtown sound system. F, bench dividers. G, historic downtown banners. H, repaint light poles. I, restripe stop bars. And J, sandblast and powder coat trash receptacles. A, exercise trail. B, docks. C, Union Point Park bench swings. D, flower planters on select corner poles. E, a downtown sound system. F, bench dividers. G, historic downtown banners. H, repaint light poles. I, restripe stop bars. And J, sandblast and powder coat trash receptacles. It's to keep people from sleeping.
Yeah, so we've got at least 5 or 6 foot wide benches, so putting something in the center of those. And so the top votes that we see are 16% downtown sound system, 14% flower planters on select corner posts, 12% repaint light poles, and tied with 11% each, historic downtown banners and bench dividers. All right, so we've got one more. Colleen, are you ready? One more set of projects that we'd like your input on.
All right, last one. Which projects would you prioritize? A, repave Pollock Street lot. B, install the spigots so that you could wash off your business. C, farmers market upgrades, the garage doors, the ceiling fans, etc. D, enhance the railroad property between the farmers market and the railroad tracks. E, install parking and a pier along East Front Street. This is near the traffic circle. F, the Craven Lot project. This is the inner core project. G, digital wayfinding. H, creation of a downtown master plan. Or I, reduction of MSD's debt service.
What's the rate on the debt service?
It varies. Different notes vary, so, ones we borrowed 10 years ago have a different rate than the one we might borrow.
But it's usually lower than the current.
Oh, they're government anywhere from 2 to 5%. Yeah.
And we've also got that information on the website as well that you can pull down.
I'll go through them again for voting purposes. A, repave the Pollock Street lot. B, install spigots to wash off your business. C, farmers market upgrades. D, enhance the railroad property between the farmers market and the railroad tracks. E, install parking and a pier along East Front Street near the traffic circle. F, the Craven Lot project, which is the inner core project. G, digital wayfinding. H, creation of a downtown master plan. I, reduction of MSD's debt service.
Colleen, what are our top projects?
On this one, it is the Craven Lot project, the inner core. That's 22%. The next one is creation of a downtown master plan. The next one is install a parking and a pier along East Front Street near the roundabout. And they're changing on the fly. And then we sort of have a tie between installing the spigots and the farmers market upgrades to include the garage doors, the restrooms, and the ceiling fans.
How would a downtown master plan differ from an urban design plan? Larger area.
It would be an update to it. And it would be an update, and it could also be combined with another urban design plan. But anything we did MSD fund-wise, it would focus only on the MSD area. That's correct, yes. All right, so got another poll for you. We brought up several projects, but there may be some projects that you may have an interest in. So what other projects would you prioritize for downtown New Bern? And that project could be anything that you may have an interest in that we haven't mentioned. And even if we have mentioned it, you can reemphasize that. You can type anything you want to on this.
These are examples that I put in earlier when I was testing the software. So don't mind A's.
That's a lot of A's, Colleen. So what other projects would you prioritize in downtown New Bern? Okay, so she, Pepsi Museum, inner core, finish Federal Alley, remove downtown sound system, parking deck, Pepsi Museum, paid hourly parking and redesigned inner core walkway between Craven and Middle, security and lighting inner core, figure out the parking situation behind Morgan's Bear Plaza. Improve pedestrian crosswalk access.
Foster, I mean, it's fun doing this.
Mhm.
Because we all have different priorities.
That's right.
And I mean, shouldn't there be some kind of formula that deals with, upkeep of things, like, that would be one section, we constantly,
Mhm.
are doing those sort of things, and then new projects, and the way, where it's, how much they are, and how valuable they are, and cost effective.
That's right, and of course, as you remember, we did add a lot of those maintenance things that have been neglected over time. Crosswalks are one, repainting light poles and things like that. So there are a variety of things that need to be addressed. And
I mean, somebody might not vote for those, because that's not as exciting as.
sure, of course, but this is just giving you an example of things. This is really going to be something that when a committee is established, we're really going to take a hard look. And that's where staff will help guide and things like that. Things that really need to look, we really need to do for safety reasons and things. It should be a priority there. Then, of course, it's obvious based on what we've seen, the inner core is going to be an important topic that's covered at some point as well.
So, in terms of like, is the city responsible for versus like MSD? It seems to be the MSD fund should be on top of what the city requires. So any light posts on that, it's gotta be standard city.
Yeah. So what I'll tell you is this. We don't repaint light poles. The city does not repaint light poles. You're in a historic downtown area. That is an improved amenity. If you want to see that upgraded and look nice, that's what you need to consider doing. Well, does the city repaint stop bars throughout the city? Of course we do. We don't put thermoplastic down with the glass beads up. Would you like to see an enhancement like that downtown for enhanced safety? That's something that the MSD would need to consider because we don't do that citywide. So it's things that we're not going to do citywide, and a great example of that is street signs. We have the standard size street signs that we put on the corners. When we talked about one of the projects, putting larger street signs on the traffic light bar, that's one of the biggest things we hear from non-residents, from visitors to come to town. They can't figure out what street they're on, and so that's one of the things that was put. We don't put that down in any other locations in the city, so that would be special for downtown area.
So the difference is that well documented so that this committee.
Yes, it is.
That they'll have some guidelines to
Yes.
As far as you know, are there any other neighborhoods in New Bern like Riverside considering MSD?
We have not heard of any. We have offered that to some that have wanted to see enhanced amenities, but we haven't heard back from anyone. All right. All right, so what other comments do you have after we've gone through these exercises this evening? Yes.
People, be able to put their name forward, to be honest.
Okay, so what's going to happen, we'll just talk about the next steps. We're going to compile all this information, and the surveys that did take, you'll be able to go online, pull those down, and look and see what folks voted. We're going to present this to the governing board in July. We're going to aim for the first meeting in July. If not, it'll be the second meeting. At that time, we're going to make the recommendations on what a committee could look like, the terms of service, and things like that. Then the board will decide whether or not they want to go ahead and establish that committee. I think that overall the board has a desire to want to do that. That's why we've been having these meetings. That's why the board wants your input. And from there, we will advertise how an individual can apply. Okay? And then I think the goal, if we present this to the board in July, I think the goal would be to start appointments the following month and then get the committee up and let them start doing their work. So within a few months, that's the goal.
Comments. Traditionally, those who have been around a long time, MSD was started and funded and went all these years to make major infrastructure. The money weren't for light poles and things like it was, what you're talking about, some of those minor, what I call maintenance and electricity at the point. But it was for large infrastructure needs that would not have been able to be paid for by the city. And
Any other questions or comments?
I wonder, based on Sabrina's comments, what major infrastructure projects you might have in mind?
Architect, I mean, everybody's been calling for a architect for years, that could potentially be a project. You know, we talked about that for, you know, the reason we bought the tablet slot was because we wanted an architect, and that was 25 years ago. The main idea was to get the streets and streetscape done, which we have done. You know, the signage is important. I agree with Foster that we have visitors that you can't find anything because the signage is too small. I'm a fan of the sound system, not to make noise, more noise in downtown, but to provide information such as, did you know there's 2-hour free parking on the street? You know, outline lots are here, there, and now. And maybe a historical moment that says, you know, Christ Church was founded at such and such a time, or some, you know, informational that would be good, that was, you know, not go all night long stopping in the business day. But those are, to me, infrastructure type of things that would enhance our quality of life, our friendly atmosphere.
Still utilities, but not ground. Utilities, frankly, the board's still low.
Oh, streets.
Yeah, not streets.
Okay, so this was just, MSD was just on the streets, they're not.
Yeah, it's a utility pole right here. It's
I understand, yeah, that's private property, was not public property.
All right, any other comments or questions? Yes.
So you said there was a period of time on which you had to spend investigation. Do you know what time that is?
It is by state statute. We don't want to hold money for 5 years and do nothing with it. That's a great example, because then what's the purpose of the MSD? That's how the statute's addressed. That's right. That's right. That's right. And historically, this city has spent funds on an annual basis out of the MSD for improvements, hence all the projects that you've seen, whether it be for maintenance or whatnot. Like I said, it's spelled out, but we can get that information for you.
They use MSD's line to pay off the ones that, still are not standing, taken out by the MSD.
Yes, it could.
But that wasn't one of the.
Yes, it was. It was. Yeah. Yes, Mayor.
I believe that calculation that was used to determine the breakdown of residential tax values. And with that being said, there's usually not a tax value associated with the church or nonprofit. I just want to check with the churches downtown, it's zero, so that they don't identify whether or not that's exactly.
The only reason the church would have is, like, First Baptist Church parking lot, and read that, so they pay tax on it.
So like Franklin Episcopal Church right next door has a tax value. So that would be.
But they're building across the street.
I didn't check that. I'm just saying the church next door, that's probably a very expensive piece of property that has a tax value of zero, so that is not a factor into the calculation.
And of course, we will verify that information. If you signed up for email updates and things, we'll definitely send that out and let you know. Just one last thing I've got, just show of hands. If the board does appoint a committee, just raise your hand. Who would be interested in serving? So we've got a good representation of folks that would be interested. All right, well, great. You've got to pay tax within the MSD. Folks, I want to thank you so much for attending tonight. We got some good information. The next time that we talk about MSD will be at a governing board meeting at one or the other meeting in July. We'll be advertising that. We'll also let you know since you're on our mailing list, and you're welcome to come back at that time as well and listen to what the board decides to do. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, we'll be here for a while to answer anything you may have. Thank you. We apologize for the start of this polling night.